listening to Operation Self Reset. Change the person you are to the person that you want to be. What is going on, Resetters? This is Operation Self Reset, podcast number 11. First off, I just hope all you guys out there had a great 4th of July weekend, week, whatever it was. I was up north Wisconsin hanging out with family. It was some great weather, and I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And I want to share a $1 billion idea with the inventors out there, or the people that like to fiddle with stuff. I was sitting hunched over by a garden hose for literally like 40 minutes, filling up like 100 water balloons, and my back was killing me, and I was cursing up a storm. There has to be a better way. So if you guys out there have the time, I'm kind of busy with the podcast and inspiring you to take action, so maybe this will inspire you to take action. If you could make a automatic filler upper and tire water balloon device, I would be the first person in line buying that sucker because, as we all know, water balloons are fun as heck to throw, but they take forever to fill. And I mean, it's such a simple thing to do. Fill up a water balloon, tie it off, bam, you got yourself a portable squirt gun on the go. The fun that you have with a water balloon is awesome. The best part is when you're trying to throw it and it breaks in your hand. Yeah, that's always a good one, so a little backlash. But anyway, it's not about water balloon hour. We're going to be talking about Ray Luskin. She owns a website called thewinningadventure.com. You guys can check her out. She's going to be talking about, leadership, giving back, community service, finding your passion, your inner critic, talking to your inner critic, and time management. It kind of encompasses a lot of things that I personally want to hit on individually. I was kind of put in contact with her, and I'm glad I was, because she is very diverse in a lot of these different aspects and has some great little tips. Now, again, this isn't a full detailed report on how to find your passion from 0 to 100, but it gives you a starting point, a little direction. So before we dive into the interview with Ray Luskin from thewinningadventure.com, I wanted to share kind of something that happened to me personally today, this morning. I thought, you know what, it'd be huge to share it with you guys out there because this happened to me very recently, and I know you guys will get some benefit from it. So long story short, woke up, did my daily routine, all that stuff. Well, I went to the gym, and when I was working out, I was really feeling just disappointed in myself. I just felt like this project, Operation Self Reset, wasn't really going to go anywhere. I just felt like all the effort I'm putting into it and the time and everything like that just wasn't going to be worth it. And it was a really weird feeling because I knew within myself that I'm doing this for the good. I'm doing this because I have a craving for it. I'm doing this because it's my passion. But at the same time, I just had that self-doubt. And maybe was it a chemical imbalance in my brain that was released? Maybe, was it because I didn't get a lot of sleep because I got a newborn? That could be. Was it a lot of other things that are happening around me that just wore on me and I was just in a bad mental state? That could be. But I want to share with you guys what I personally did to kind of get out of that mental state. I know you guys out there listening have had this happen to you, either once a day, once a week, whatever it may be. But what I did to really kind of pull myself back to reality, back on the game plan, back on the horse, saddle up, giddy up. That was my impersonation of a person on a horse telling their horse to go. So there you go. What I did was when I got home, because I was driving home, I didn't have the paperwork in front of me, and I should. I keep on saying I'm going to save this for like some podcast, of me telling you guys tips of how to stay motivated. But I keep reminding myself I should take a sheet of paper, write down my goals, and put it on my steering wheel. What? On your steering wheel? Yes, on the steering wheel. Why? Well, you're looking at that sucker all the time. You're driving all the time, all that stuff. I also thought it would be a great way for people that are just in financial ruin to, mark down if they have a credit card of, say, like $8,000 and they love going to Starbucks or they love just, sporadic spending. That's a great reminder. It's right there in front of you. It's written with your own hand. Ink on paper is a lot, more personal than typing on your phone or something like that. So I always thought that would be a great little spot to kind of put a reminder note to yourself, either inspirational quote, a little motivation statement, or something, as in your face as a big bill from a credit card or something like that. It'll help you kind of gain control of the situation. Okay, again, going on a tangent. That's the entrepreneur mindset of sporadic insanity that's going on in the noggin up here. But anyway, what I personally did, I looked at my goal sheet. Now, I have multiple goal sheets. I actually have like weekly, monthly, yearly goal sheets, and then I have lifelong goal sheets. And I went right for the lifelong goal sheet. I looked at it and I started going down, 1 through 15 and like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I need to keep plugging away and all that stuff. So that really helped me get back in the saddle, get me back on page and allow me to sit here in front of you right now. I'm recording this at 11 o'clock at night while my child is sleeping. And I'm just pouring it out to you guys because I know you guys have the same problems. There's days when you wake up, you're just so disappointed. It might be because, you're starting a new weight loss program and it's just not panning out. You're not seeing the results, or it might be because you're trying to find a new job and you're just overwhelmed and you're like, you know what, screw it. Just forget it. I'm going to just continue to work at my lousy job. Or you're trying to figure out yourself and figure out what is my true calling? What am I here for? And you are just finding dead ends. You're reading book after book. You're listening to me day in and day out on repeat. Amen to you if you are. And you just are connecting the dots and you're just frustrated. You throw up your hands and go, that's enough. I'm just going to continue down the path of where I have been going. You don't want to go down your normal path. You want to change it. You want to reset it. You want to transformation of your own personal life. And that's what I'm trying to instill in you. So you guys need to have that kind of stake in the ground, that last little ditch effort if things are going awry that you just need to look back on and go, why am I doing this? Whatever it may be. And you can kind of reflect and go, okay, yeah. One of my big goals is to have my wife be a stay-at-home mom. That's huge in my personal life. Everybody has a different goal. But when I saw that, I would be like, yes, okay, this is why I'm keep on moving and I'm keep on trucking day in and day out. So hopefully you guys got a little bit of information there of how to handle the times when you just have self-doubt within yourself. It's not so much your inner critic talking or your self-talk that's wearing you down and telling you that you're a lousy SOB. It's more of you just feel like, I'm not worthy. I don't think this is going to work out. You got to focus back on something. And I personally focus back on my goals, and that really helped me. So I would love to hear if you guys have something else other than a goal sheet. Is it something, memento you got from a family member or a picture or, was it a video or whatever it may be? It could be a stick. I don't know. It may be a stick to kind of whoop you back into shape. That would be funny. So, whatever it is, I would love to hear what your little fallback on device is, and we can chit-chat about it. So let's move from self-disappointment to an interview that I think can solve a lot of issues that are arising in a lot of our lives. A lot of you guys have been emailing me. Thank you again so much. For the people out there listening, if you want to get in contact with me, ask me a couple of questions. You have issues going on in your life, you need more motivation, inspiration, a problem arose, and you don't know how to handle it, email me at support@operationselfreset.com. I will get back to you. I have gotten back to every email so far. I'm behind a little bit, so I'm not going to say I've gotten to everything yet, but I will be current at the end of this week. So now is the interview with Ray Luskin from the Adventure.com. All of the things stated on this podcast will be in the show notes. Feel free to access them at operationselfreset.com/podcast 011. And here it is. Welcome to the podcast. Ray Luskin is a speaker, author, artist, and activist. Ray supports individuals and organizations as they discover their passion, purpose, and authentic power. In her forthcoming book, The Winning Adventure, she brings together a remarkable collection of insights and wisdom from over 100 nonprofit, community, and business leaders. Ray, welcome to the program. I appreciate your time. And how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you. So happy to be here.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And if you wouldn't mind kind of diving into a little more about who you are and how did you end up with this platform that you're on?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I'm 63 years young as of yesterday.
Nice.
And
congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I found myself over the years, I've always been a community activist. I was a volunteer And I started realizing in the last few years that I needed to talk about leadership, because so many people I ran into said, oh, I can't make a difference. Who am I? And how can I, one person, do something? And I've always believed that we are role models at home. We all have a sphere of influence. We can be mentors at work or volunteers in the community, and that is leadership. So I wanted to broaden that definition of leadership. And so I decided to dive in, and it was sort of this little whisper in my head, just start calling your heroes. And I did. One of the first calls I made, and I tracked him down, was, his name is Paul Kivel. He is a social justice educator. And he said, of course I'll do an interview. And we started talking, and then who do you suggest? And then one of my areas of expertise is in creativity. I am totally involved in creativity for healing, social justice, innovation, and leadership. So I contacted Mary Rockwood Lane, who started the first arts and medicine program in a hospital in Florida. So again, it was those kind of things, because I wanted people to see that you can have a big vision, you can go after it. It doesn't mean you have to have a big position to do it. If you have a passion and you go after it, you can be a leader in whatever that arena is.
Yeah, perfect. Now, you talked about passion. How do you suggest people go about finding their passion if they don't know what it is, or they're interested in something but they don't feel it's something that they want to really dive into? Do you have suggestions for them?
I do. Actually, I have something on my website called the Passion Inventory. It's just a simple little thing. If you go to thewinningadventure.com and you look under carry-ons, because that's my freebies. Yeah. I'm a travel person, so that's why the metaphor.
Okay.
And you go there and you start with that, because it asks you about what's your favorite color. Sometimes we have to go back into childhood. What was your favorite activity? What was your favorite adventure in life? And then you build up. What was your favorite job? All these things, and you play detective, and you start there, and then you can go on and imagine. What would be your perfect day? What would that include? Who would be in it? What activities would you be doing? So there's a whole piece like that. I think that is a big piece of passion, is asking those questions and really sort of going backwards and looking to the past to see what made you smile.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you also speak very highly about leadership, not only in the business world, but in your personal life. Can you kind of go off of that?
Sure. Leadership was something, I guess, in my family, I'm Jewish, and there's a term called tikkun olam, repair the world. And I grew up with that as a motto. So it was always something my family presented. They were philanthropists in the community. They were activists at a hospital, or my dad was a president of this, my mother was a president of this board. And so I always got that, and I modeled that, and it became part of my own legacy. And so, I was on my first board at 23, the president of a board at 25. And so that has always been part of it. And I recommend highly volunteering, because you can hone your skills for business and life by being a volunteer, and taking on those leadership roles and just diving in. And you learn so much about who you are and what a contribution you can make to other people.
Donating your time, you suggest just finding something that interests you, finding organizations around your community. How do you go about finding that?
Well, I would first of all, ask what has touched you in your life? Has somebody been ill in your family? Is there a disease that's attached, to someone that you love? So start with those kinds of questions. What's important to you? Maybe it's animals. My girlfriend doesn't have kids, but she has 3 dogs and 2 cats. Animals are her passion, so she volunteers like at a pet shelter, those kind of things. She used to bring her pets to old senior centers. So you can find, what do you love, what's important to you, and put it all together. And you start asking people, well, where would you volunteer? Because I think we get this idea you have to give money. It's your expertise. So maybe you're a copywriter. Maybe your expertise is in time management. You can go and help people do that. I mean, there are so many places that people need help. Bankers can go and volunteer at shelters and give women information on how to create a budget, how to take care of themselves, how to get loans so that they can get out of an abusive situation. There's so many places that we can actually step up and be leaders.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one thing that I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this and thinking to themselves, well, that sounds great. I always wanted to volunteer and stuff like that. But time management is just really so thin. I mean, I come home from work, I'm dealing with the family, I got this going on, I need to, leave a little bit of time for myself. Do you have any suggestions on how people can kind of organize their time management and figure out a game plan for the week or the month to allow other opportunities to come into their life?
There are two aspects of this. I think you can go and talk to your bosses at work because so many of them have a mandate for social connections and involvement in community, and talk to them about planning a day where you volunteer through work. So instead of having to leave work, you take 3 hours of that work day and once a month and you volunteer as a group. That's one way to do it because there's so many opportunities that you can do and get connected. The other is plan it as a family. Imagine what you can do as a family together to make a difference. You can go to the park and pick up litter for an hour one day, and then your kids can stay and play. There's so many opportunities to give back that we forget about them because they're so simple that we just sort of ignore them. Oh, it has to be big. No, it's the little things. It's making cards, sending them to veterans. It's collecting, pennies and donating it to your favorite charity. Even if it's $5, so what? If your family did it together, it's a gift.
Right. Those are really good points, and especially like you just said, their ask. The worst thing that happens, the boss or whoever just says, maybe not this month, but I'll bring it up to the board and we'll talk about it. So the least you can do is get out there and ask and see if they can free a little more time for you. So that was a huge point.
And one other thing, because you may be interested in going green, so maybe you talk to your boss about, can we change the light bulbs? Can we get free trade coffee? So whatever you're interested in, there are ways and opportunities to make a difference just by the ask, as you said. It's the conversations we have. And even if you don't do it at work in the sense getting your boss to change it, tell your coworkers what you care about. And maybe one of them will pick it up and say, wow, I never thought about that. I could do that at home, whether it's recycling or whatever it is.
On your website, you talk about a little snapshot in time. You talk about time management. Do you mind kind of indulging on that?
Oh, not at all. I think it's really important as we are so busy every day, every moment, that we have to take the time to figure out where we are. And the activity snapshot in time really is it's like a pie chart. And I want you to sit down and figure out what's your day like or your week. And then you'll notice, oh, wow, I didn't leave any time for my wife. All I've done is work for 60 hours, or all I do is sleep, and there's no time for fun and adventure with my kids. So we need to be balanced. We need to take the time to assess where we are so we know what we want to change.
Yeah. This is great information, especially for the podcast, which is about changing the person you are to the person you want to be. And if you guys are listening out there and need that extra couple minutes and stuff, this is great resources. Make sure you guys go over to thewinningadventure.com and you're able to, kind of take these short little surveys and figure out your true self. Another thing that you talked about just recently was making conversation with people. As I browse around your website and talking to you, you talk kind of like, greatly about making sure you interact with one another. How does somebody go about doing that if they're not comfortable? If they're the shy person, if they're not the outgoing one, do you have any suggestions for them to kind of get out of that little comfort space that they have and extend their hand to shake somebody else and get to know them?
Right. I think that they have to. Everybody's got something they're afraid of. And if we recognize that in each other, a lot of people put on the bravado. Oh, I'm great. Everything's wonderful. But if you have a personal conversation with them and you own up to gee, it's not going so well. My kids got trouble in school, or, my parents are ill. Those are conversations everybody's got today. We all got parents. And if you start there with something really personal, you'll find that people respond in kind. That people want to know who you really are. We are a society that texts, and so there is no eye-to-eye contact. We don't stand there and shake hands anymore. And I think that's really important that we don't forget that piece of it. So let's have those personal conversations.
Yeah, that was a big point that you just made there. I actually made a podcast about that in the last episode about just going to the meetups or events, just getting out there and shaking people's hands and getting to know them for who they are. And one thing that I've been getting emails about is that people are still very nervous about just going into a situation that they don't know anybody. But at the end of the day, the people that are at those events, they want to meet other people. So it's not like the total awkward conversation. You're at line at Starbucks and you're going to strike up a conversation with somebody. You're going to these events and talking to people because they want to talk to you too. So you got to always think about that in the back of your mind. Now, Now you have, obviously people have emailed you and contacted you about different ideas for suggestions, and you contacted them about helping them out in like, mind maps and different ideas that you have. What is something that a lot of people contact you about that seems to be a recurring theme? Like, does it have to do with self-doubt or confidence, or what's kind of like, what's something lacking out there that people are always bringing up to you, and what do you say to them?
Okay, I think the biggest thing is that inner critic. Everybody's
Yes.
got this voice going on saying, who do you think you are? I'm not enough. Those voices come out to everybody, from the top executives to the busboy. Everybody's got those dialogues going on. So those are the pieces that pop up the most for me. And people are really concerned, how do I manage that? How do I change that voice? How do I change that story? And I really think, again, just like we were talking about before about being shy, we need to reframe those stories and sort of go back to the first time that we heard this voice that said, oh, you're not enough, and sort of say, hey, that's not true anymore, and start creating dialogues for ourselves. I believe in mantras, affirmations, whatever you want to call them, having visual symbols that you can just sort of, close your eyes, and imagine. Now, everybody's got a superpower. I believe in Superman and Superwoman and all that. And it's fun, and it sounds a little weird, but at the same time, I tell you, find a super pose for yourself. So before you're going to those conversations and you're going somewhere where you got to have the ask or engage with people and you're uncomfortable, go in the bathroom. Imagine that, how Rocky did, where he raised his arms in the air and he, spun around. You can do that, and that could be power pose, or put your hands on your hips like Superman, and that changes everything. It gives you a solidity, a base. It grounds you in power, and we have to have those if we're going to go forward. Like when you were just saying about when people are scared, if we can also think, instead of, it's not about me, I'm not out here to sell anything, I'm here to find out who you are and create a relationship, then that changes it too.
Oh, for sure. And you spoke of, not selling anything. I guess we as a society are so used to just getting sold upon. It's like any encounter that we meet in our email to our personal mail, physical mail, text messages, sometimes we get it's always sell, sell, sell. So sometimes I guess we put up that individual kind of, shield to protect ourselves from that. But, once you put that down, and you made a good point of finding, your true, it's like going up on stage before a public speaking event, they say, take a deep breath. But like you said, get in that mindset of, what, I am Superman, I am Wonder Woman, and I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to be the best person that I can be at this moment. And I'm going to give it everything I got, because life is too short to be, scared and holding back. And especially moments when you can be meeting some great, great people. You spoke of, or excuse me, before the interview started, we kind of talked about your book that's coming out here, and you talked to nonprofits and business leaders. What have you learned from those people? Would you say a couple of things that you pulled away?
Wow. It was amazing. As I said, I've interviewed over 110 people. I did not expect the generosity of people, and they shared their stories, and everybody's got a story. Somebody had to overcome something, whether it is, one of my great interviews, I was so surprised, is this woman was, an intelligent woman in finances. She and her husband ended up in jail for 6 years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because of, wrongdoing. And she had stage 3 breast cancer and had to go through treatment in there. Wow. And she talks about they wouldn't let her have a pillow because it's against the policy. So the women prisoners wove a pillow out of Kotex pads for this woman.
Wow.
So, you hear stories like this, people sharing. One gentleman, his mom was killed. And so he has a camp for kids who can, every summer, where they can talk about a family member who was killed. Everybody's got a story. But we all present this, I'm great, I'm wonderful, and then you find out what's behind it, and stuff. And that's the kind of blessing that came to me, was the courage of people, and also the creativity that people just, you don't think of creativity. Everybody thinks of it as being, an artist, a photographer, but there's creativity in leadership. There's creativity in the way you lead your company. One of the gentlemen I interviewed was Tom Walters, of Tasty Catering Company here, and he's won a couple awards now for Best Place to Work. And his team came to him just a few years ago, his young whippersnappers, as he calls them, came to him and said, either you get rid of captain and commander style, or we're quitting. And he did. He changed it up. They are a values-based company to the point where every meeting is begun with their values, which are posted. I went and had lunch with them all over the place.
Wow.
And they actually post their profit and loss statement every day. So everybody is totally involved and knows where they're falling behind or where they're succeeding. It's a totally different model.
Oh, for sure. How you talked about being creative. How do you access that for somebody that's not used to finding that inner, creative little bone in their body? How do they go about in accessing that?
Well, I think that creativity really is how you problem solve. It's how you address life. It could be the way you cook. I mean, there are so many avenues of creativity, so we have to broaden our definition.
Sure.
But I think, look at it from a perspective of play the game, what if? Start with, what if I could change this? What if, or just play with, take a paper bag and imagine you could come up with 100 uses for it. And you start, and the first 5 and 6 will be easy. And then it's the rest are harder, but you'll come up with it. So, and I think the other piece is change perspective. So go out, when you're at work and you're just struggling with an idea and it can't come together, just get out of the building, take a walk in nature, just get out there and change it up. Look from a different perspective. Imagine you were a child of 6 or 7 looking at the problem versus you as the adult enmeshed in whatever voices are already going on and whatever dialogues you've got.
Right.
So those are some of the ways. And I think brainstorming, but not necessarily like the traditional brainstorming, but I mean, put pieces of paper on every wall, move your furniture. I think physical space is really important in brainstorming, that we don't do that enough. We all just sort of sit at our desks and silo instead of just get up and move. And everybody writes something on a whiteboard and then move on to the next one. And you never know where that answer will come from. It's presenting a no-fail option. It's like anybody can just, and then we won't criticize you. There's no judgment.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Some people are afraid to kind of, give a suggestion because they don't want to be laughed at or, oh, that's silly or stupid. But at the same time, you know what? That's how creative gets sparked. If somebody gives an idea, then you kind of jump on it and you give it a little twist. And then somebody else will add a suggestion. And then it kind of just rolls into something great and something that you can use that's very practical to your application. So those are very good points. Throughout your journey, obviously you said you're 63 years young, correct?
Yeah.
What kind of tools or tips did you get or did you use to kind of put you in this situation to get these ideas about being creative, the ideas about leadership?
I think for me, this journey has been, I called myself a self-help junkie at one point. I used to go to all these, when I was in my mid-30s, I went all over the country following all these leaders and stuff but I really learned to journal. I think that is one of the gifts that was big for me, journaling, and also scribbles and doodles. We all scribble and doodle when we're sitting at the phone or, and if you can just sort of sometimes put a plan, you're thinking about something and you just start scribbling, the answer will come to you because it changes. When you scribble, you just relax. Your endorphins are released. There's this whole physical component to that. It's that 20 minutes that sometimes you're driving and where'd the time go? That's what happens when you scribble. And your mind just frees itself to give you the intuition and the answers that you were looking for.
Yeah. Now, if somebody approached you or emailed you or called you and they said, you know what, can you give me a tip or just one thing that I can do today to kind of reset the way I think, act, and believe, what would you kind of suggest or say to them? And that's a loaded question. I mean, obviously, you could go on for hours about that. But, is there one thing that people can take action today or, the moment that you hang up the phone with them that they can use immediately?
Okay, I would say get a journal.
Okay.
A journal and a box of crayons, and crayons get you to that place of being a child again, and so that's when wonder and joy happens. So I would get that big journal, like a sketchbook journal, and you can write and you can and draw and scribble. And the other thing is, I call it a visual diary, which is another way to spark any ideas that you want. So you would just start collecting pictures from magazines, from the internet, things that you like, sort of like Pinterest is, and that kind of thing. And because that'll just spark everything. It also can create calm when you're stressed. It can, makes you happy. And so I think that idea of journaling and using this visual diary will change your life.
That's a really good point. And it's a funny story. I actually heard recently that somebody went to art school at a very world-renowned art art company, and they said snap off all the tips of your crayons. And because you don't want to you want to know and understand how the crayon will react to you. You know, you don't want to have that nice, straight, pointy, that tip. You know, you want to break it and have those hard edges and understand, you know what, you're not always going to get the nice, perfect, round, tip at the end. And you're going to, utilize, your creativity and understanding how to just interact with the things that you're working with your hands. And I thought that was a really big point, like you said, just being very creative and just letting those juices flow, so.
Right. Process, because you can't get, I think it's a great idea I always give people when they come, I do this one-on-one VIP day where they come to me and we will work through taming their inner critic or, tapping into their creativity. And I give them broken crayons and they're like,
nice.
Why are you giving me broken crayons? I said, I don't want you worried about, if I break it, it has to be perfect.
Right.
This is about the process, because when we are involved in the process and not the product, we are much freer. We are more open. We are more joyful.
Right. And speaking of joyful, and I'm kind of bringing this back around, there's a little part in your website that you talk about 10 ways to say thank you at work. And why should we be grateful? And why should we say thank you and extend our hand to people that maybe we don't get along with that well, especially in our workplace?
Okay. I think that when you say thank you for the work and we acknowledge it, you motivate them. They want to step up and lead. They will be willing to stay late, to take on the extra challenges. So if you acknowledge the work they do and not own it, so many leaders are still stuck in, I have to own that idea instead of giving the team credit. And I think that becomes a lose-lose rather than a win-win. And if we share the credit with people, it makes a difference because they, unfortunately, statistics say that 80% of people are not engaged at work. That affects your bottom line in every way. People have said that they'd rather have thank yous and acknowledgement for their work rather than a money bonus.
Yeah, no, it's just the little things that, really make a huge impact. And also, too, not only saying thank you, but giving compliments to people that you don't even know, too, can enlighten yourself, as you obviously know throughout your studies, that can really, generate some positive energy within yourself to keep saying the thank yous to other people and putting yourself out there. So it's not like, hey, thank you. It's an actual joyful, meaningful, I really do appreciate what you have done for this company, for myself and whatnot. So,
right. And it's not just thank you, it's acknowledging what they did.
Yes.
So if it's your smile today or the way you answer the phone or how you've handled that situation with grace and ease, those are the things that make a bigger difference. It's taking that little extra step and acknowledging really what it is. Whether you say, hey, thanks for your patience during this. I know we've struggled, so I like that. That really feeds you because you're being honest and coming from your heart, and it certainly feeds them.
Yeah. And you talk about a very good point about mind maps, kind of focusing, visually outlining your information that's coming into you. Do you mind going into mind maps and how we can benefit from them?
Oh, not at all. I think it's great. It's one of those tools that I use, not really realizing it was intuitive for me before I even learned about Buzan and his theory, and his work with mind maps. It's like it was just intuitive for me to always mind map. It can be as simple as a circle with spokes out like on a wheel. It can take you to see where you are. It starts with a problem, a premise, put it in the center, and then everything you can think about going out, and then you keep adding more and more information. So all of a sudden, you've created every step you need to do to get where you are, get from where you are to where you want to be.
Right. Oh, exactly. And you said in your 30s, you kind of you really dove deep into the self-help, atmosphere. What was a big moment for yourself that kind of slingshotted you to where you are currently? Was there one big meeting or one big person that you met or a book you read that was just so inspiring that you just had to take action on?
Oh, well, my mantra in my 30s was Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Okay.
That was the biggest thing I ever, wow, that just was for 30 years. That was sort of where I've always used that. Even if I'm afraid, I just feel it and do it anyway, because being courageous is not the absence of fear, it's going ahead even though you're fearful.
Yeah. And how do you take action? People have the ideas, they set out their time, they talk to their boss, they're able to give back to the community, they figure out their mind map, they kind of have all the places or all the things in their certain little place. How do they take action now and just say, you know what, today's the day that I'm going to take this by the hand, and I'm going to drag this along, and I'm going to push through, and I'm going to make this possible. How does somebody do that?
Well, I think it helps if you have a mentor, a coach, a support team, because we all get sort of stuck in our own head. So I think it's really important to find those people who will support you and that they will acknowledge every step you do, help you celebrate, because we won't go forward if we don't feel we are getting anywhere and we celebrate. I think the biggest key is breaking it down into really small, manageable steps. It's sort of, instead of like, oh my God, I've got to lose 100 pounds. Okay, no, I only got to lose 2 pounds this week. You can take it that way. And then when you have those people saying, wow, that is great, you reached your goal, and I think that helps perpetuate you to go forward for your dreams. And I think that's critical. We all have to have those dreams that we are reaching for.
Yeah, it's kind of like that team atmosphere. You're not going to be able to complete the goal or task by yourself. Sometimes you need that support and the people around you to give you suggestions, tips, and just to keep you moving along. The last question here before we wrap this up, obviously you are a coach and people can contact you about getting, additional help and resources. How do you personally stay motivated? Obviously, there are days that you wake up that you're just not in the zone. You're not present. How do you bring yourself present? Do you have any tips that you can share with us that we can use in our lives?
Yeah, I'm a passion test facilitator. And one of the things that when I took this, and I it was every time you're faced with a choice, a decision, choose in favor of your passions. So I really look at that every day. It's posted on my desk. These are my passions, and that's what I do. And the other piece is I do have my own personal coach that I work with. I have, and I do my journaling and scribbling and doodling every day. So those are the 3 things that keep me motivated.
Okay, perfect. Well, Ray, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the podcast. And we can contact you at thewinningadventure.com. Are you on Twitter or Facebook?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm Ray Luskin at Facebook. And on Twitter, I'm Survivor Solutions, Solutions. And I'm on LinkedIn. And if they go to my website, too, I've got a couple things going on right now. I have a free report on visioning and goal setting to take you from where you are to where you want to be.
Perfect.
And with some exercises in there. And I have a new coaching package coming up called Confident You. And there's a free Confident You coach teleseminar coming up soon.
Okay, perfect. And also, too, they can go on there to contact you about coaching and things like that.
Totally. I have a thing under contact. If you fill out this little questionnaire, I'll give you a discovery session. There's an Ignite Leadership survey on there. So there's lots of ways for you to take the information and use it for yourself, for your team, and I'd love to talk to you.
Perfect. Well, Ray, really do appreciate your time. You gave some great information, especially the point of just giving back to the community, because you know what? There's nothing better than giving back and paying it forward. So really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch.
All right. Thank you so much.
So there's the interview with Ray Luskin from thewinningadventure.com. Again, go to operationselfreset.com/podcast011 to get all the links, details, and more information about Ray and her great website. She does have a lot of free resources on the website. I would say it's pretty beneficial. Some great little, guides to help you find your true passion, to help you find and talk to your inner critic and figure out time management, all that fun stuff she stated. I'd say it's a really good little website to go check out. And also, too, she provided some really great tips that we can all pull away in every direction of life. Kind of a lot of the things that I stated in the introduction that encompasses Operation Self-Reset. It's time to kind of wrap up the show, but before I let you guys go, I want to ask for your help and assistance. If you guys have not left a review on iTunes, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Every review helps. It helps boost the rankings and everything like that. So if you guys enjoy the podcast, give it a 5 stars. If you hate it, if you despise it, well, then leave a 1 star. So that's totally up to you. Whatever your heart desires, leave a review. Greatly appreciated either way. And also, too, guys, feel free to get in contact with me. Support at operationselfreset.com. I am here to listen and to help you along your journey and your new path in life. I want to leave you guys actually with a little quote that I found The reason why I want to bring this up is because a lot of you guys have been contacting me about your job. In America, we do not really enjoy what we do. It's a job that pays the bills, it allows us to go out to eat, to do some things on the weekends, but we know it's not something we love. So here's a little quote that maybe you can get a little inspiration, a little better idea of the job you're in, and maybe shine a different light on it. And I quote, "Don't worry about the next job. Consume yourself in this job, and the opportunities will come your way." End quote. That's from Tim Brewster. So there you guys go. Maybe it gives shines just a little different light on it, and lets you guys realize that maybe you got to stick it out, and the opportunities will come to transform that job that you hate into something that maybe you will enjoy. So either way, I support your guys' decisions in whatever avenue you decide to take in your own personal life. And one last time, I just want to remind you guys, on July 4th of this year, I interviewed Mike Thornton. He was a Medal of Honor recipient, one of the original members of SEAL Team 6. If you have a second, take a listen to that podcast. It's podcast number 10. But on operationselfreset.com/podcast 010, at the bottom, leave a comment for him. I'm trying to collect a lot of comments to send to him personally via snail mail, and I think it would be a really cool way to show our appreciation to a true American hero. If you have a second, it would be huge. One sentence, 2 sentences, whatever it may be, something is better than nothing. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Again, guys, you are the best. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we will see you in the next episode. If you guys have any suggestions for me for future episodes or somebody to contact, reach out to me, support@operationselfreset.com, and we'll go from there. So thanks again, guys. Make it a great day.